How did you meet up with her?
I picked her up from the apartment. I don't know how she got home.
You saw her at the apartment? You don't know how she got home?
She went home. I picked her up from the apartment, and we went to my friend's house.
Okay. So do you remember that you actually picked her up or were supposed to pick her up at the Jack in the Box in Florence?
Why in Florence?
Pardon?
What was in Florence?
I'm sorry, the Jack in the Box in Casa Grande. Where's the Jack in the Box, you know?
On Pablo and Florence.
Pardon?
Pablo and Florence.
On Florence Avenue. I got that wrong, so sorry.
Florence Boulevard?
Florence Boulevard. So did you know, or strike that, were there plans for you to pick her up at the Jack in the Box on Florence Boulevard?
I can't remember. Like I said, 3 years ago.
Okay. So do you remember if you picked her up or you didn't pick her up at the Jack in the Box?
I just answered your question. I picked her up at the apartment.
Okay. So you did not pick her up at the Jack in the Box, right? Or did you say you don't remember it was 3 years ago?
I did not pick her up at the apartment. Or I did not pick her up at the Jack in the Box. I picked her up at the apartment.
All right. And let me ask you this. Were you and she fighting that night about your failure to pick her up at the Jack in the Box?
Might have. I don't recall.
Did you say might have? I don't recall.
Might have. I don't recall.
All right. Do you recall her being angry with you for not picking her up at the Jack in the Box?
I can't remember. 3 years ago.
Okay. Might have, but still don't recall. Is that right?
Don't recall.
Okay. Now, after the shooting, you had a cell phone. True?
Yeah.
Did you have more than one?
No.
Did you ever have a burner phone and your cell phone that was registered with a carrier?
No.
How did you communicate with people who were driving the smugglers if they weren't given a burner phone by you?
Why would I give him a burner phone?
So that you could communicate with them and your communications wouldn't be traced.
That's not my responsibility.
Pardon me?
That's not my responsibility.
Whose responsibility was it in your trade?
Theirs? I don't know.
Pardon me?
Theirs? I don't know. I don't know what phone they used.
Okay. So the people that were driving for you, you didn't know what phones they used, right?
I didn't even know the people.
All right. So you had to contact them to set them up to drive for you, right?
Yeah.
So you must have known a little bit about them, right?
Didn't know them. They reached out to me.
Okay. And they reached out to you how? Snapchat?
Snapchat,
WhatsApp? Instagram?
I can't recall.
Okay. So then they would tell you where their phone was, or you just kept communicating with them by WhatsApp?
Why would they tell me where their phone is?
I don't answer your questions. I'm here to ask you questions. Did you ever communicate with them by phone?
Yes.
Okay. And if you communicated with them by phone, how did you get their phone numbers?
They would give me them, or they would reach out to me on WhatsApp, like I said.
Okay. All right. So let's assume that they gave you their phone numbers. You would then receive them on your phone, correct?
Yes.
And are you saying that you always used just one phone to get the information from them regarding your human smuggling?
I didn't see the point in having two phones.
To hide the information off of your personal phone. You didn't see that point?
I mean, the cops already knew what I was into, so I didn't really care.
Okay. I'll take that answer. The cops knew for a long time what you were into, and you still continue to do it, right?
It was part of their investigation. I got indicted for it.
That's not what I asked you. The cops knew that you were into it, and you were still doing it for a long period of time, right?
I was being investigated.
Okay. While you were being investigated, you continued to smuggle.
I mean, sure.
All right. So when you were being investigated and you knew you were being investigated and you continued to smuggle, didn't you take steps to evade the investigation by using more than one phone?
I mean, I knew they had everything, so, I mean, I didn't really care at that point.
Okay. And it sounds like nobody else really did because nobody was arrested you for it. Right?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Nobody arrested you for it, even after you knew that they had the information, true?
I mean, I did get arrested.
Yeah, ultimately, and convicted.
Yeah, I spent 3 years in prison.
Yeah, so for a long time, though, you continued to do it while you were under investigation. Is that right?
Yes, that's what it says in my indictment.
Okay. Well, if you want to talk about the indictment, how long were you indicted for? How long were you
Objection,
involved in it?
relevance, cumulative.
You just brought it up, Judge, and I just followed it through.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
So how long in the indictment did they say you were involved in human smuggling?
That's in my indictment. Not sure. Can't remember.
Okay, let's see if I can refresh your recollection. Until January of 2023, right?
That's the last time I did it.
The last time, January of 2023. The last time you did it. Okay. Your girlfriend, who you claimed was pregnant, you were going to marry her, was shot.
Objection, argumentative.
I didn't even finish the question. On April 24th,
Sustained. Get to the question.
you continued to do the smuggling for months after your girlfriend was shot, right?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled. Go ahead and answer.
What was your question?
Sure. You continued to do the human smuggling for months after your girlfriend was shot, right?
What else was I supposed to do?
Pardon me?
What else was I supposed to do?
Okay. I didn't ask you that.
You just
I
did.
didn't ask you that. I asked you, you continued to do the smuggling for months after your girlfriend was shot and killed.
I just answered your question.
What else were you supposed to do? That's your answer to the question?
Yep.
Okay. And the months after would begin April 24th of 2022 until you were arrested in January of 2023, right?
I didn't do it right after. There was several months that I went into hiding. I knew I was being investigated, so I went into hiding.
Okay. So there were a few months that you let off and then you came back and continued to do it, right?
I mean, I needed the money. I came back to Phoenix.
Okay. I didn't ask you that.
Well, you
So just
did.
listen to the question and answer it the best you can, but really just answer the question. I appreciate the information because it's interesting, but I didn't ask you about any of that. I asked you, did you do it for months after? You said no, and then I'm trying to figure out how much time you took off. How much time did you take off?
Is that relevant?
Go ahead and answer the question.
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
I
How
can't
much
remember.
time did you take off?
Till January. Or actually, I take that back. It was maybe November, December.
Okay. And then you started up again?
Didn't start up a lot. I mean, I got indicted for 2.
Okay, all right. So now we're going to go to the shooting. I'm going to take you to the time of the shooting. You gave a lot of different statements regarding what you saw the day of the shooting. Do you remember that?
No, I was going through a traumatic event.
Here we go. You were going through a traumatic event. So prior to the traumatic event, you were asked a number of different times by a number of different detectives and police officers what you saw that day. Do you remember that?
Objection, asked and answered. This is cumulative.
Overruled.
Judge, I'm setting the foundation. Thank you. Overruled. So go right ahead.
What was your question?
Yeah. Do you remember being asked and telling the officers that you had seen a car parked next to where your car is normally parked on the day of the shooting?
There was.
So the answer is yes. You also told the officers that you saw that car driving around the Sonoran apartments prior to the shooting, right?
I think you have my questioning mixed up with somebody else's because I don't recall saying that.
You don't remember saying that you saw a car circling the apartment complex prior to the shooting? Is you're saying you don't remember saying that?
Nope.
And you probably don't recall then that you also told the officers that the driver's side window was down and that that person who's in the
Objection,
driver's
asked and
side...
answered. This is cumulative.
Not at all, Judge. It's cross-examination, and he's
Not cross-examination.
This is direct.
he's an adverse witness. Permission to please cross-examine
Let
him.
me finish with the objection, please. Overrule the objection, but you are on direct examination, and this witness has already been called. So, Mr. Lynch, get to the point.
I will indeed. You saw, before the shooting, a car that you claimed was the shooter's car, right?
Yes.
And
That's my
that
statement.
car, in that car, there was a driver, right?
I mean, it's a car, so I would assume that there was a driver, right?
Yeah, that's right. And you saw the window was down on the driver's door, right?
Don't recall saying that.
Pardon me?
I said I don't recall saying that.
Okay. You said that you saw that driver with a gun pointed at you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the window was down when you saw the driver with a gun pointed at you, right?
I mean, I thought it was a splatterball gun. We had like a group chat of like 30.
Didn't ask you what kind of gun it was.
That was my
Asked you a
statement.
simple question. The window was down when the driver pointed the gun at you, right?
Don't recall saying that.
Don't remember saying that. Well, how was he pointing a gun? How was the driver pointing a gun at you if the window wasn't down?
That was 3 years ago. I was going through a traumatic event. I don't remember.
Traumatic event. Okay. So you're not sure if the window was down or not?
Can't remember.
You can't remember even if a gun was pointed at you, isn't that right?
I mean, I thought it was a splatterball gun. Told you that.
Okay, so you do remember a splatterball gun, but you don't remember how it was pointed at you. Is that true?
Nope.
All right. So at one point, you indicated to the police that you did not know who the shooter was. Do you remember that?
Yes, that's when I first got questioned.
Okay. And then later on, you said you were 75% sure it was Terrence Santasteven, didn't you?
Objection, this is asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you know Leslie's cousin, Amber?
Nope.
You don't know her?
Nope.
Never met Leslie's cousins?
Met one.
What was her name?
I can't remember.
Okay, so it could have been Amber, right?
I don't know Amber.
Okay. Well, you don't know the name of the person that you met. So how would you know that it wasn't Amber?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. Okay, fair enough. So this cousin that you knew, did you see that cousin at the scene of the shooting? The night of the shooting?
Possibly.
Okay. And when you saw that cousin at the scene of the shooting, the night of the shooting, did you give that cousin your cell phone to hold for you while you went to the police station?
Possibly.
Possibly. Why would you give your cell phone to the cousin to hold for you when you were going to the police station?
I knew the criminal activity I was in, so I wasn't gonna just take it with me.
Okay. So because of the criminal activity you were in, you didn't want the police to see and search your cell phone. Fair?
They searched it the next day. They actually did an extraction on it.
I didn't ask you that, so just listen to the question, please, and answer it. You gave the phone, you think, maybe, possibly, to a cousin of Leslie before you went to the police station, right?
I can't remember.
Traumatic event?
Objection,
Yep.
argumented.
That's sustained.
So earlier you said, I think, I may have possibly given it, right?
I never said I may have.
Okay. Do you remember giving the phone to a cousin so that you wouldn't take it to the police station with you?
I think I just answered that, correct?
Okay, yeah, that's right. And you said yes. Now,
What?
and the
I did not
reason that you did that was to avoid the police seeing the type of criminal activity you were involved in, is that right?
Yep.
When did you finally give the police the phone?
They did an extraction the next day.
The next day. So you had that phone that night, the whole morning, and into the next day, is that right?
Yes.
What did the person that was driving the motorcycle that you saw leaving the scene of the shooting after the shooting look like?
Objection, asked and answered.
Never asked that. What did he look? He or
Hold on. Attorney's approach. Objection overruled.
That was driving the motorcycle that you saw that night, leaving immediately after the shooting, what did he look like?
He was on a motorcycle. I don't know.
Okay. Was it a boy or a girl? A man or a woman?
I don't recall seeing the person.
I mean, you would agree that a person that's driving a motorcycle is definitely visible. You can see that person as opposed to a person in a car, right?
I mean, I just seen them go down the street. I didn't see them personally
Okay,
up
fair enough.
close.
But my understanding is you looked out before the shooting and you saw them all parked out there, right?
I never said I seen a motorcycle outside. I heard it. I seen it after the shooting.
So your understanding is you didn't even see a motorcycle leave, is that right?
I said I seen it after the shooting, driving down the street.
Okay. But you don't recall saying, I looked out and I saw that motorcycle and the white car and the shooter's car parked out there before the shooting. Is that what you're saying?
Never said I seen a motorcycle.
Okay. Well, did you see the motorcycle before the shooting or not?
No.
All right. The white car, the white Altima, did you see the white Altima out there before the shooting with the shooter's car?
I can't remember.
Okay. Well, let me see if you can remember the driver of the white Altima then. What did the driver of the white Altima look like?
I just said I can't remember.
Okay. Let's see if we can have any memory of the driver of the shooter's vehicle. What did the driver of the shooter's vehicle look like?
It was dark. Can't remember.
Can't remember. Okay. Did police ever ask you what those drivers of those vehicles look like?
I can't remember. I was going through a traumatic event.
Okay. Did the police ever contact you and ask you about the people that your mother had identified?
I don't think it was none of my business.
Stop, I did not finish my question. Did the police ever contact you to ask you about the people that your mother had identified as possible shooters? Did they ever call you and say, hey, come on in, I want to talk to you about these people that your mom said might have done this?
There's a possibility.
Okay? So there's a possibility they did, a possibility they didn't, right?
Correct.
Who were
Correct.
the officers that asked you about those people?
I can't remember their names.
Okay. And can you remember the names that they asked you about that your mom had identified as could have
That was
done
3
the
years.
shooting? Go ahead.
That was 3 years ago. I can't remember.
Can't remember. Okay. Why don't I throw some names out? Roy Gutierrez.
I can't recall who that is.
Okay. Alex Pena.
That was my best friend.
That was your best friend, but you did have beef with him. True?
Nope.
Never?
Nope.
So there wasn't a dispute between you and Alex Pena over Leslie?
Never over Leslie.
Okay. Well, over what then?
It wasn't me and Alex.
Pardon me?
It was not me and Alex.
Okay. Pep Lock?
Can't recall.
Tommy Shaft?
Can't recall.
Ruben 99?
Can't recall.
And Kula Brothers?
Can't recall.
Okay. So you don't remember at all the police contacting you and saying, hey, let's talk about why these people would want to do this. True?
Can't recall.
Okay.
Mr. Lynch, we're going to need a break here, and
I've got one question, and
All
that's
right.
it. I'm done. So the lead detective was Teresa Ellsworth. She was in charge of the investigation. She never contacted you, did she?
I can't recall. I don't think she did.
No. Not a common name. You don't remember ever talking to her and answering questions that she might have about people who might have done this to you. Isn't that true?
I only recall talking to Mel Investigators, detectives.
Just males. Martinez, remember we talked to him?
Yep.
Okay. And Miller, while you were incarcerated, right?
Yep.
Okay. But not until you were incarcerated. He never,
Objection, misstates the evidence.
did he interview you?
Sustained.
He did interview you early after the shooting, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember him asking you about all those other people?
Possibly.
Okay. But no specific memory of it, right?
Possibly.
Possibly. They'll tell us what it is. What did he ask you about those specific people?
I can't recall.
And is that all because of a traumatic historical event?
I mean, it's scientifically proven. When you go through a traumatic event, your memory is a
I didn't
little
ask you
spotty.
to explain it to me. I didn't ask you to explain it to me. I asked you, is that the reason why?
Sure.
Okay. Nothing further.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll excuse the jury. Come back in about 15 minutes.